Well, some 4 in 10 Singaporeans would rather be jobless than feel unhappy at work. That's according to a report by HR solutions agency Randstad, which polled 1,000 Singapore workers. Now, the proportion of those who prioritized happiness over employment rose to 1 in 2 among younger workers aged 18 to 24. That's higher than the global average of around 3 in 10. Now, for those who had jobs, nearly 6 in 10 people aged 25 to 34 said that they would quit if it stopped them from enjoying their lives. And across age groups, more than 4 in 10 don't mind earning less if they can contribute to society. Now, let's look at job flexibility. Almost 8 in 10 said they valued the importance of remote work as an option. And more than 4 in 10 said that they would not accept the job if they are unable to work from home. Well, joining us tonight to make sense of the survey is Jaya Dass, a managing director at Randstad Singapore and Malaysia. Well, Jaya, the pandemic has underscored a clear shift in priorities. How is the idea of success changing among youths, and how is it shaping the workforce of the future?
I think the pandemic has certainly given a chance and opportunity as well as time for people to reflect what priorities are in their life, as well as what work means. I think pre-pandemic, it is about work-life balance. Post-pandemic, it's become about life-work balance, in my opinion. What you also start to see is the benefits that people have had from flexible working and remote working. They are reluctant to go backwards on those benefits and expect that to continue in some work redesign process, not because the pandemic calls for it, but just because we are allowing ourselves that flexibility at work, as well as thinking forward in terms of what is actually sustainable for the employee well-being in the long run.
Well, these results are quite specific to the Singapore worker. How do these preferences affect their competitiveness in what's an increasingly global market?
When we surveyed both globally as well as within the region, we looked at Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Australia. Interestingly, Malaysia actually polled even higher than us in requests for remote working as well as flexible working, as well as being 1 or 2 basis points higher across all scores in terms of how Singaporeans talk about the focus on having purpose at work and what makes them happy, and connecting work to a more holistic way of looking at how they view their life, followed by Singapore, and then next was actually Australia. So on the global average points, we're not far off, but the global average basis points were slightly lower than Singapore. And I think what makes it more competitive maybe is for us to actually view that Singapore is not just a country demographic of a workforce, but we actually have a regional workforce that's has a global impact as well.
So then how can, companies align these aspirations with their business goals?
I think it's important to think about output and productivity rather than controlling time or inputs. Work redesign is definitely something that companies need to look at to understand whether there's a different way of delivering work, allowing employees to better manage their personal lives together with work, and allowing more flexibility within the framework, and in other words, freedom within the framework, for managers to redesign as they see fit to get to the end outcome. KPIs, processes, policies, all of these things need to shift. But I think the fundamental shift starts with a mindset change with the leadership and management first. To recognize the writing on the wall that this is not a nice to have, but a must have moving forward when it comes to attracting talent as well as retaining your workforce.
Yeah, and what about companies that may find it hard to offer flexible arrangements then? Jaya, do you think these employers automatically lose out on talent?
I think there may be 2 parts to this. The first one, does the function actually allow you to work remotely or allow you to work flexible hours? For example, if you look at a reception function, the person is requested or rather required in their function to be front-facing and working perhaps during the core business hours. Such a function may then be difficult to redesign and move towards remote working or flexible hours. But most other functions, a good 70% of an organization, particularly in white-collar jobs, should be able to get redesigned and offer both remote working options as well as flexible working. It's more a question of the effort by the organization to reevaluate and shift rather than the fact that it cannot be offered just because it's difficult to do so.
Well, many thanks for speaking with us. That was Jaya Das, Managing Director, Randstad Singapore and Malaysia.